there's thunder, there's lightning. John Nada. I saw a comment on one of the recent videos asking me to comment on the recent social isolation that has been brought on by the COVID-19 or coronavirus. And so in terms of social effect or isolation on myself personally, I haven't really noticed a change at all in terms of my social life, my isolation, and all of that. Now, I know that many MGTOW, and of course I can't speak for all MGTOW, I know that many of them probably echo my sentiment. They haven't really noticed a change in terms of their isolation or in terms of their social lives. And the thing is, the more that I sat down and I thought about it, I have talked about this in some other videos, just the feeling of alienation and the feeling of being outside the tribe, so to speak. Now, we go from talking about the isolation brought upon, or rather brought on by one type of virus, to something I refer to as the MGTOW diaspora or diaspora. And what I mean by that is, if you've noticed, which many of you have, many of these channels are dropping off day by day due to censorship and all those sort of things. And in fact, the MGTOW Reddit, of course, has been quarantined. And so there is an active virus led by human hands, of course, to silence the truth or silence the many factual things that many of us have come to see and believe in. And so it made me think of the whole isolation thing. And it made me think of the censorship thing. And I'm not suggesting you try it unless you just want, an argument on your hands. But I've noticed that the vast majority of the time that I've brought up MGTOW, now I don't mean that I brought MGTOW up, but I brought precepts and principles of MGTOW to the forefront of conversations. And it's always met with aggression. It's always met with disbelief. When you bring up the divorce statistics, when you bring up, hypergamy, when you bring up domestic violence and the domestic violence laws, everybody always has a counter. Everybody always has a parry to whatever statistic, to whatever fact, to whatever idea you can bring up. Now, I'm not, suggesting that you go out there and you like a preacher on the street corner, but to merely suggest such things, you're not. This isn't a life or death thing. This is not, a salvific issue, as they say in the theological circles. These are just suggestions. These are just, hey, think about this kind of stuff. Contemplate this. And the mere suggestion of it brings up issues and barriers. Simply because people don't want to think about those sort of things. People don't want to, in a sense, when you become an adult, there's a part of you that still wants to believe in fairies, unicorns, and sprites. You don't want to give that up. And so many in the world, they don't want to give up the idea that they're going to find this perfect someone, this one, this lock and key. And they hold on to it. Many of them hold on to it till their very last breath. And I suspect many of them hold on to it in spite of their own personal experience and in spite of their own eyes sometimes. Now, I sat down and I did kind of a cost-benefit analysis here because it interested me how similar getting married to a woman in today's day and age is to buying a house. And you see, when you buy a house, you have the initial down payment. And when you get married to a woman, you have the engagement ring. When you buy a house, you have the closing cost. And when you get married, you have the wedding, which anymore costs upwards of thousands of dollars. When you own a house, you have maintenance fees. You got to cut the grass. You got to put a roof on there every once in a while. Maybe a fresh coat of paint. Maybe replace the driveway or something like that. Well, you certainly have maintenance fees with a wife. You have, gifts, vacations, and just the monthly upkeep of hair, nails, and new Louis Vuitton or Kate Spade bags. And then you have the property tax on a house, which in terms of marriage looks like inherited debt, money spent due to hypergamy. And if you don't pay your property tax, guess what? The bank comes in and takes it right back. Well, if you don't pay that hypergamy tax, guess what? She was never yours. It was just your turn. You don't keep paying on a house, the house goes away. You lose your job, the wife goes away. Happy wife, happy life, as they say. And I've been told by many people that it's pretty costly to sell a house. There's a price to sell. Well, there's a price to get a divorce. That's why they say divorce is worth what it is, because that's why you pay so much, because it is worth it. You've got the legal fees during the divorce. You're sometimes paying for her lawyer as well as your own. Spousal support in some states, and of course, the ever ubiquitous child support. But here's the thing. A house provides you with warmth. A house provides you with shelter, privacy, comfort. A house gives you a home base, a center, something to come back to. Something to cloister yourself away from the world after a long day's work. It appreciates in value generally. Can we say the same of many women today? I mean, what do many women bring to the table? I know when I was doing the online rounds, a few years ago, the higher up in your age range, the worse the women get. And many of the older guys, many of the older MGTOW listening to this, who are also on the Plenty of Fishes and all that, I never really did the Tinder thing. That was really it was a newer thing kind of after my time. But Plenty of Fish was where it was at, when I was in my heyday of doing all that. And as the years go on, the pounds of the women go up, the amount of children go up, the amount of children from different fathers goes up. Many of these women have retail jobs or jobs making minimum wage or a little bit more than minimum wage. And they have no personality. They have no book learning or desire or curiosity about the world. And it becomes a very doldrum type state. And so all of that, all those resources, all that time, all that energy and effort, and getting very little in return. You see, relationships in marriage are not about commitment. They're about the flow of resources. And the interesting thing is, you realize as you get older that life is full of disappointments when you follow someone else's path. And that's the thing that we do, isn't it? To please others. It's a natural want to please other people, to be a part of the tribe. Because in the olden times, if you got kicked out of the tribe, that was most oftentimes a death sentence. And see, that's the thing about this isolation deal. Nobody wants to be isolated. Because when the sun goes down, the chatter of the day dissipates. We're inside our houses. The day is done. And we sit down or lay down in our beds. And we think. All this stuff that we were able to keep out with iPhones and iPads, work, all this stuff comes back to us, and we still have to deal with it at the end of the day. And the fundamental truth is that when it comes to marriage, men seem to be in search of someone to take care of, and women are in search of a caretaker. You see, when that's our vision, when we allow someone else to determine what it is we're going to do with our life, or determine what will make us happy, well, with no vision, the people perish. If you have no thought of what you want for your life, if you have no vision for how you want things to be, there are plenty of people in the by and by waiting to create a vision for you and to create a life for you. A lot of people talk about how women enjoy sex just as much as men do. But I think another fundamental truth that MGTOW has taught me and many others is that women only enjoy sex with those that they deem to be chads. All other sex is transactional. It's either to secure resources or something else, attention or accolade. That is why there's such a broad definition of rape these days. Rape used to mean something. When I was growing up, rape meant, a forced sexual act, oftentimes involving some sort of threat of death, some sort of grievous bodily injury, some sort of weapon. And in some parts of the world, they've broadened the definition so far that merely asking a woman the time of day is now considered sexual assault. And look at the type of porn that most women enjoy. When you look at the polls and the statistics, most women say they enjoy gangbang type porn. And I know that several of the girls that I've dated in the past confided to me that that was what turned them on the most, gangbang type porn. And it never made sense to me until it dawned on me. Why wouldn't they enjoy that? It shows a woman receiving vast amounts of attention, being showered and elevated to a position, and valued simply for her biological features, being beatified and exalted simply for being a woman and being the center of attention. But I will tell you this, plain talk will get you in trouble. When you reveal truths to friends or strangers or passerbys, when you tell them of the realities of not only hypergamy, not only the things that involve relationships and the man and woman ritual mating dance interaction of life, however you want to call it. When you say these truths about anything, the people will not bear it. They don't want to hear it. And so many people sit right now in isolation due to their own choice or the choice of their governmental body. And we all have to think about what we will do next. And in the morning, we all have to get up and brush our teeth. Some of us will shave and we'll look at ourselves in the mirror. And if you're a MGTOW, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or says about you. You see, many people lose their way upon the road of life. And I've talked about it many times before. You get sidetracked. We get going on a good thing for a while, a good routine. And the thing is routine is not bad. We've been told, or we've been sold this idea that if there's not constant excitement, constant spontaneity, that we're in a rut, that it's routine, that it's boring. But routine is the fuel that feeds the fire. Routine is the chisel and hammer that allows Michelangelo to take a marble slab and turn it into a work of art, an awe-inspiring form. It's a routine with our gym activities. It's the routine with our hobbies that we endeavor into, that we not only build our bodies to be physically more aesthetic, but also physically stronger, that we not only become better at an instrument or more learned in a subject, language, or artistry, but it feeds the human soul. The problem's not routine. The problem's when the routine becomes stagnation. Routine with growth is a good thing, but routine with rudimentary entry-level standing is what's the issue. It's the non-growth, it's the non-excelling and exceeding that becomes an issue, that becomes a problem. And so here we stand. Many people have already blown 2020 off. They, oh, well, we've got this COVID-19 thing. Well, oh, it's just over. You know, things won't be back to normal till August. Folks, we don't choose our circumstances, but we choose how we respond to those circumstances. So use these opportunities, use this time. When you fall off the horse, you get back on the horse. When you make a mistake, you correct it, and the next time you don't make the mistake again. No matter what is going on in the world, no matter what is going on in your life, there's always the option of choice. Go your own way or don't. The choice will always be yours.